So as we apply economics to permaculture, we want to think about economic indicators. What economic indicators do we use in economics?
Yes, that's a giant thing because the first question is how we measure things in economics. So how can I say this country is a good country? This country is good for is having a good track. And I think that uh, economic indicators are always, or most of them, based on how much money do you have. So nowadays you have like GDP that are
That's
the
gross domestic product.
yeah. So how much of production do you have inside of your country?
Right.
That's what he's measuring, and this is the most famous and the more utilized indicator.
Mm-hmm.
When you pick up like the ranking of countries, oh, United States or China, they are fighting for the first position of world.
Mm-hmm.
When they say this, what they are telling you, they are talking about GDP.
Right.
So what are the GDP showing us? They are showing production, but they are not showing how the money are being used. It's not showing where the money are being used, and they are not even discussing how this money are created. But because if you pick up the GDP of United States or a lot of them is based on war. So do we really want a indicator that put you on the first economy of the world based on war?
War.
So it's a really questionable thing. Uh, so a good thing is, so how can we measure things? That's a really good point to me because we are talking about build a different world. So we want to show everyone like, okay, this is a good country, or you can talk about small scale. Like we are talking about Bosque Village.
Mm-hmm.
If we pick up Bosque Village as a, a place, this in mm, maybe all indicators that we have, the classical ones, the most used ones, you will be in an extremely poor area because you don't have water receivement, you don't have electricity, you don't have basic basic health like from bathrooms or things like this. So you don't have pavimentation. So you are in an extreme poor area.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm staying here and I'm pretty sure that I'm really better than a lot of people in a lot of places. So that's why we should change our
So the
indicators.
indicators don't necessarily actually indicate quality of life.
Yes.
And also, I've noticed that there's some people who try and measure. There's websites for this. What the happiness of a country is,
Yes.
which is interesting because you
Yes.
could have a country with a really high GDP. They're producing a lot. They've all got lots of work to do, and maybe they're even polluting their country, and they're not happy at all.
Yes.
That doesn't seem like success.
Yes.
So GDP is not success.
GDP is it's a completely indicator that we should pass by. But we have good indicators like we can use
Right.
Gini indicator is a good one
Gini.
because Gini,
That's
Gini, the coefficient,
GINI.
yes, the
Okay.
coefficient
G.
of Gini, it's measuring the disequality,
Inequality.
the inequality, yes, the
Right.
inequality inside of the country, and of course that you can measure inequality by uh, rent or by richness.
Right.
So it's like the money that are circulating or the money that people should have saved. You
Right.
have
So
different kinds of
so so
measuring this too, but
so you could have a really rich country in terms of GDP. You could even have a very wealthy country. But if it's very unequal, then it might be
yes.
politically unstable. It
Mhm.
might indicate that there's some kind of serious problem. We
Yes.
probably would not be into that.
Yes. And including environmental indicators, that's a thing that should be put in all discussions.
They might be destroying their country while they have a high GDP.
Yes, they have a high GDP, they are a giant economy, but what are what are their costs
The environmental
of the
costs.
environmental? Yes.
And cut. That communication. So one of the things you wrote about was the Human Development Index as being one of the economic indicators.
Hmm.
What is that?
Well, it's an indicator that was one. It's one of the most famous, and he really showed it up as an alternative to GDP. So a lot of countries nowadays use it for you do use the income, but you're talking about education of the people, and they are usually using the number of alphabetized
Literacy.
literate,
Literacy rate?
yes, of the people. So you have like an age, a maximum age that all your country need to be need how to read.
Yeah.
So they make this indicator, and they're talking about healthy.
Health?
That usually they use the born
Longevity,
no
infant mortality.
infant immortality. That's what
Right.
I want to say. So yes,
Infant immortality? No, that would be interesting. So infant mortality, yeah, and of course we've
infant
seen
mortality.
infant mortality worldwide has plummeted,
Yes.
which is just great. That's a huge success story.
Yes. Yes. So this is so you're not putting only income on human development, but you're putting to human discussions. That's education and that's healthy. So that's a point that I really want to pay attention, that why we need to study economy, and by indicators why we need to study statics, because that's incredible. That's how people are seeing and say, okay, things are getting work or things are not working.
Right.
When we're talking about, oh, if it's a good, it's a bad, as I said, usually it's based on indicators.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, we have to try and measure things to
yes.
try and really understand
So
them.
if we change the things, the way that we are measuring, I can say this country that are growing up their GDP, but by growing up by war, are growing up by pollution, are growing up by destroying the environmental, and growing up by alarging, like putting the distance between poor and rich strong.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a good way. You are not a good
Yeah.
track. You need to put this in real discussion.
When I think about that on a worldwide level, I think about a lot of other indicators that we should add in, because I worry about the future of the entire world. So I'm like, what's the health of the ocean? How much biomass, animal life is there in the ocean? How are the algae doing that produce all of our oxygen?
Yes.
And I want to see graphs on all of these things, because I think we're actually killing a large part of the world.
We do have one that they call footprint. They are really aggregated.
The ecological footprint.
Yes,
Right.
but it's a really nice one, and everyone can do your own footprint based on the website, and they
Right.
have a really good platform. Then if you send an email, they send you every platform in each country, in each state, and everything. So it's a really good one.
Right, so-
Aggregated, but it's a
So
really
you
good
can
one.
actually go to a website and you can enter in your data of what your lifestyle is like, how much gasoline you use to transport yourself, and you can
Yes.
figure out what your ecological footprint is. And in
Mhm.
some cases, they calculate how many Earths, how many worlds it would take to actually maintain the industrial lifestyle we're doing.
Yes.
And the problem is, we don't have enough on the Earth to live the industrial lifestyle.
Yes.
And so some of the graphs I want to see, the economic indicators I want to see, are how the environment's really doing, how our consumption is going. So really we're talking about a vast amount of data we need.
Yes.
That's, wow.
Yes, and nowadays a discussion that are really like in Brazil, they are really strong right now because they are putting this on politics and they're voting and everything. It's about monoculture, polyculture, or about organics, and we do have a lot of searches about these things, but they are usually talk about productivity. So of course that if you pick up a monoculture and you see how productive they are productive in one thing, but we are not talking about biodiversity. If you put another indicator that's biodiversity, so you are changing the whole discussion.
Yeah,
So this is the main point.
yeah. Good job. We're doing really good. All of the complexity of those indicators, really, I'd like to see data, and I know it's hard to see data. In fact, we can lie with statistics a lot. We can get very confused because we think we understand what's going on, but we're misinterpreting data. I know Hans Rosling is one guy that I love to see his videos and how he deals with data. One of the things I'm interested in is if I can see enough online of all the graphs of how we're using oil, and if we're at peak oil or peak whatever. A lot of things are peak X because we're using so much and we're not regenerating it. We're not taking care of the world. I asked a question on Quora: in what year will there be less people on the earth than the previous year?
That's a good question.
It's a frightening question because everybody thinks we can just have infinite growth. And infinite growth does not occur in a relatively closed system. We have a very closed system on Earth. We have the sunshine coming in. Other than that, this is it. And so my thinking is if we see enough of these graphs, we'll actually be able to predict when human civilization will start to collapse.
Yes.
And that's frightening.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Just I say in other words, like I don't like saying statics are lying, but I like to say that we are choosing different indicators, and that's the point. As I said, if you choose productivity and biodiversity, you are making a whole different discussion. So
Right.
you're not actually lying because the database usually are a good one and usually are showing the results, but the difference in what presupposed are you have and what are you choosing to go to move to your main goal. So you're not lying, but you're choosing. It's
So
it.
if we were to put this in simple terms,
Yes.
is what we're talking about really that economics is often focused on the economics of human civilization
Mhm.
versus the economics of Gaia versus the
Good.
economics of the entire planet.
Good.
That's really what we're talking about.
That's would be
Okay.
fantastic point.
Okay. So that was all big scale stuff.
Yeah.
When we bring that economic indicator set down to Bosque Village, I need to be thinking about that. And so I need to be thinking about my income, my expenditures, what kind of products I supply, what products are in demand. There's two permaculture principles that relate to this a lot. One of them is valuing the gifts of nature.
Yeah.
And of course, we're doing that here. We come into the forest, and one of the goals is to be able to live, have humans near nature without totally destroying it. Which generally they do. We're really good at just using everything up. We take, we take, we take. And so we want to have some of those other indicators be how much biodiversity is there here? How can we increase the amount of wildlife? How can we increase the diversity of plants that are here? So we want to measure like what is the total tree mass of everything here? So I'm learning a lot from this idea as we try and apply economic principle, economic principles to Bosque Village. Um, so we're cultivating diversity. That's the other principle that we're doing here. Um, I'm not a good businessman. We've talked about my financial situation. We've talked about my various ideas on how I can have income. So far, what I've done is I've been kind of too giving in a way. I've had the luxury of just spending money on experimentation and how we can do things. It's been really fun. But now I'm actually looking at my personal economic indicators, not just in terms of the Gaia stuff and the world stuff, but real money stuff.
Yes. The financial education.
Right.
Yes.
And so that's a thing where I'm cultivating donors who love the project. That's very important. We're looking at what product we provide. Also, we're looking at how we can serve people.
Yes.
Now, you here have gotten your permaculture design certificate,
Yes.
so that's a benefit to you. Uh,
Okay.
and there's probably not that many economists with a permaculture design certificate.
That's one point more.
Yeah,
Yes. I
yeah,
really think that we need to be connected because we believe in the same things and we all there talking about permaculture, all that we are talking about solidarity economic, all that we are talking about buen vivir, all that we are talking about Steiner and the Waldorf education. We are there's a giant pack of discussions that they are on the same track. How can we build a post-industrial civilization? What is your future? We are all together building something different. So we need to be connected.
yeah.
That's mine.
That is actually one of the most exciting things right now is that the internet is allowing us to share our successes and failures and how we're doing. Where it's really the world is saying hello to itself with the web. And so I want to track better what I'm doing and then share with other people. Other people in their projects, like this project, can track what they're doing and hopefully they'll be willing to share a lot of that. And we can all learn and improve how to live better economically, like in terms of dollars and cents and pesos and reales in
Reales.
Brazil, um, but also in all of the other indicators that people forget about in standard traditional economics.
Yes,
Beautiful.
that's it.